and welcome to the Be Real, Get Real podcast. I am your host, Nancy Matthews, one of the founders of Women's Prosperity Network, and this podcast is all about bringing you real stories of real women who are up to some really cool things in the world. And today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Gail Dixon, and we're going to be discussing the Heart's Voice movement, language to heal a wounded world. I have known Gail for 8 years now, I think. Wow, so good, so good. And she has personally impacted my life in such a positive way. She's been coached with Women's Prosperity Network. She's spoken on our stages. She has touched the hearts of thousands and thousands of people with her wisdom, her grace, and her beauty. So now we get to introduce you to Gail. A little bit about her background, and then we'll dive into the discussion. She is a speaker, a best-selling author, a coach and consultant who specializes in guiding people to hear and express their heart's voice, that inner whisper of truth that gives their life meaning and purpose. Her unique gift is listening between the lines. I love that. And she is the top expert and a trusted authority on mission-focused messaging. And I'll tell you, I've seen her with people, and then they would say, here's what I want to do. Here's what I'm up to in the world. And then she comes out with this like 5 to 8 word sentence that encapsulates the essence of the message. It really digs into people's hearts. So without any further delay, my good friend and the Heart's Voice movement founder, Gail Dixon. Hello, my friend.
Good morning. So glad to be here.
I'm so grateful for you being here. So Gail, we're going to get into what is the Heart's Voice movement in a moment. Tell our audience how this came about for you. Like, why is this your movement, your mission to share?
Absolutely. I have had a career in the communication field. I had a master's in communication and interpersonal relations. I taught communication for a while. I brought my communication skills to the nonprofit world, and then spent some time doing training and technical assistance for helping professionals. And my work was actually standing up and talking about other people's missions and agendas and good work in the world. And one day, as I was standing at a podium with a message, with my assignment, I opened my mouth to speak, and I had no breath. I couldn't get a word out. I couldn't catch my breath. I had to call my boss over, motion her over to take over for me. And that led to a period of time where we discovered my diaphragm was paralyzed. I spent 2.5 years at the end of an oxygen hose, not knowing whether that was the best it would be or the worst it would be. But what I realized in that time that I was at the end of that hose was that I had spent my life telling other people's stories and other people's truths. And that if I ever got the breath to be able to speak again, it was going to be my story, my truth, and my heart. And so that's what I've built in the Heart's Voice movement, because I know that every word we say and every word we listen to is precious. And I believe that each of us has in our hearts a message inscribed from the divine, from before we were born. Some core piece of the whole grand communal truth that is our piece to share. We have to find the words. We have to hear it and find it in ourselves, and then find the words and the way to share it so that we are contributing through our voice, through what we say and how we interact and connect with others, to the great unity that I think we're meant to be. I don't think we're meant to be a divided world.
No. And what happens is hearing the heart's voice and speaking the heart's voice. It can get so covered up with um, hurt feelings, distrust, fear, anger. And when we're speaking those words and hearing those words, that's where division comes from.
Exactly. Exactly. And, you know, in this time, in our world particularly, words are being used as weapons,
Mm.
and we really need to use them as tools. We need words to build, create, and connect rather than words that divide and destroy. And all of us can learn to speak and listen in that language with that filter. And not only can we must if we're going to survive as a society.
Well, I agree 1,000%. And the question comes to mind for me. Number one, many people don't even realize the impact that their words are having. Some do and are specifically using them as weapons. And even in those instances, I don't think they realize the depth or the strength that words can have. So, what are some of the words we want to have a new awareness of and maybe remove from our vocabularies?
Well, to start with, I think we need to be speaking in the collective and the plural rather than in the individual. When we speak of we and us, we begin to widen the circle and invite others in.
It feels more inclusive.
It does.
Yeah.
And then for me, that accusatory you should, you must, you ought to, you did, you can't. The accusatory you needs to be eliminated from our vocabularies. The you should come in the connection, in the offer of inclusion, in the you and me, us together.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many voices, Nancy, that we hear that are drowning out the voices in our own hearts. Voices of greed, voices of anger, voices of division, voices of lack. And one of the things that I urge us all not to hear is whatever voice whispered in our ear that we are not enough and we don't matter. Stop hearing that message. Everybody matters, especially you. Not just even you, but especially you. The whole, the great communion cannot be complete without your unique piece. It counts just as much whether you're speaking your words of kindness and connection to your child, to the stranger on the street, to an audience of thousands over the airwaves. It matters not the size of the audience, it matters the connection of the heart.
So good, so good. And now you all know why I love this woman so much. Clearly, she is on a mission to have us all come together and see that bond that connects us to the heart. And here, it's interesting because my daughter did the people to people program when she was in middle school. I think she was in 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who may not know, people to people was created by Harry Truman after the Second World War. And my facts may be a little off, but the essence is here. And the reason and motivation behind it is he believed that if people could get to know each other one to one, regardless of religion, skin color, nationality, if we knew each other, there could be only love and growth. And that's the essence of why the People to People program was created, to bring our students over to meet people from all over the world. And that heart connection is what this movement is all about. It's using the heart's voice and the language of the heart to heal a wounded world. Because if we know each other, even if we might be on the other side of opinions, we still all have the same heart. We all have the same desire to feel love and compassion, right?
Right. And, nowadays I've noticed so much that when people speak and assert an opinion, the automatic response is to contradict or counteract or say, yes, but what about this? What about that? It is as though we don't make space for anybody's truth to stand on its own without needing to zoom in and attack it. We can listen and speak even to the people we disagree with if our response is, I hear that, and this is what's true for me. When we aim at another's truth, we aim at their heart.
Yeah.
Let's not aim at each other by aiming at our truths. When we are able to speak our truths and have them heard, I talk about listening with the heart's ear as well as speaking with the heart's voice. Because the truth is, we can't all be speaking into the world all the time. And there's much that we have to learn from each other. So it is listening with that open heart, with that spirit of welcome and curiosity and connection. If we listen for the connection rather than the contradiction, we are much more likely to find it.
That was really good. Listen for the connection rather than the contradiction.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the connection? What is there something common in there? And when we can listen from that space, it brings us to common ground.
Exactly.
That was good. Great tip. Great tip. What are some ways, and I want to go back to your story of how this came about when you could no longer at that moment speak someone else's truth, and it led to the realization of speaking your own truth and your mission. What suggestions do you have from someone who may be feeling like, I want to express my heart's voice, like I know there's something there, but it's just a faint little whisper, and I don't know how to amplify it?
Well, certainly, one thing that you can do is find a safe space to share it. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. And if the only safe place you have is between you and you, share it there. Mm-hmm. Give it voice, give it vocabulary, because words are the tools that we use to create and design our reality. Words don't just describe our reality, they define it, they create it. We speak things into being. So find a safe space to speak that. If it's all jumbled up in your head and you can't find the magic words that put it together, find somebody to help you. Find somebody to listen to you, whether that's me, another coach, a friend, a partner. Find someone to just listen. Just listen and say yes. Mm-hmm. When you hear that first yes, then start thinking about who needs to hear what you've said yes to. There are others in the world who are waiting for your piece of the truth to complete and complement their own. Find them.
Beautiful. And let's talk about the movement now. So what is the purpose behind the movement, or how do I get involved? How do I contribute to that?
Well, it's easy to get involved. You join us on our public Facebook group, the Heart's Voice Movement on Facebook. and we begin to talk and share and have dialogue. What you do in terms of how you carry that out into your life is to make a commitment to speaking and listening with the heart, and come along and hear our tips for that. Explore yourself, with yourself, share with people in the group, find the language. And, I'm looking to build a critical mass of people who are committed to heart-styled communication. People who will say, today, every time I will listen with my heart. Every time I will speak from the heart. Now, to be sure, there are lots of little tiny micro messages we send all the time. I'm hungry, what's for lunch, all of that aren't those profound heart messages. But even those can be delivered with a tone of voice and an intent to honor self and others.
Like, oh, I'm hungry. I can't wait to to eat something. Like feeling that energy is like,
right, feeling that.
Instead of, oh my God, I'm starving.
Right.
I mean, little things like that, all of it matters, because I'm
right.
not starving.
It's my grandfather, who was kind of my person in the world, the person who really taught me to hear myself and hear my own truth, talked about, we have habits of speech and habits of listening. And if our habits of speech are constantly focused on the negative, we begin to create a negative world. And, this, all of the things we learn in law of attraction and other things, what you focus on expands, like attracts like, all of those natural laws are out there as natural laws. All of those maxims are out there because they are true. Nature creates connection, systems, and circles of survival based on those positive relationships. And so that's what we're meant to do. We're meant to create those concentric circles of care and heart-centered communication when we see ourselves as the drop that creates the ripple. Who knows where it can go?
Beautiful. And here's the truth, is that we always are having some impact. The question is, are we aware of the impact on an ongoing basis through the power of our words, our thoughts, our actions? We're always having an impact.
Exactly. And, it's like anything else. Speaking from the heart can be a learned skill. And from anything else you've learned, you start off and you're learning a new skill and you kind of do it mechanically. You learn it by rote. You have to repeat the steps in your head. Think about a dancer learning a dance. First you learn the choreography and you follow the steps and you count the cadence in your head and all of that. And when you master it, all of those mechanics fade to the background and you take it into your whole being. That's when you dance with everything in you.
So good. So good.
Speak with everything in your heart.
I am certainly glad that you found your breath so that you can speak your truth and share it with the world. And I'm grateful for you being here, not only with us today, but in my life and in our community. Thank you, Gail, for being you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Nancy.
My absolute pleasure and purpose. So our purpose is to shine the light on people who are making this positive impact in the world by being real and getting real. And you have that opportunity too. So join us on Facebook in the open group, the Heart's Voice Movement, and share your voice and share your truth. Thanks for being with us today, Gail. I appreciate you greatly.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you again.
You're most welcome. And to all of our viewers and listeners out there, thank you for joining us for the Be Real, Get Real podcast. We'll be back next week with another extraordinary woman being real, getting real, and making a positive impact in the world. Until next time, make it an extraordinary day. Bye, Gail. Bye, everybody.
Bye.